Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It is the first chance I have here this week, and I want to wear my UMBC hat because of their two great victories this week, and it's a little wrinkled. Tell Pete Caringi I need a new hat down there. Steve Levy, I need a new hat. Ryan Odom. And then I got Coppin State. We'll have a new hat here. Juan Dixon beating up on Morgan State. But no, in this segment, Bill Cole, I'm wearing the hat I stole off of your desk at Accelerant last week. I like the Cole roofing hat. It makes me look like I'm a lunch pail guy. I feel like a working dude when I'm wearing your hat, man. It's something about it. I dig it.
Well, we're all about inspiring people to feel like working dudes. So that's a good thing, I think.
I haven't worked a day in my life, according to, most people.
I don't think we should spend the next, 20 minutes disputing that comment. So we should talk about.
We'll just go with it. Yeah, we'll just go with it. Right, exactly. Bill Cole from Cole Roofing is my Dr. Melfi, and week after week, I sort of feel my civic role here as the Baltimore positive guy that I am, that I need to not be negative Nestor this week in regard to the Ravens and where they are, but they are, and I'm using the words that Luke used. Okay, Bill, transitional. Test tube offense is what, we're calling the Lamar Jackson thing, because now he is the thing they're building the entire selling of my PSL. I'm holding my PSL bill up for you, Bill. $1,444 for seats I couldn't get anybody to sit in last year. Everybody is either jumping off the Bay Bridge, the Key Bridge, into the harbor, whatever that is. It's been an ugly week for the Ravens, and I don't want to say Steve Bisciotti's hibernating right now, but he's hibernating right now. It's a tough week, and it's a tough industry, and I think it's tough for Eric DaCosta's wife to be on my Facebook page, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was with a couple of my fathers from my kids' school last night, and the varying opinions are wonderful. It's, unlike the Orioles where nobody really talks about it and we're all consistently on the same page. Some people, one of the guys is still convinced that we're going to be good. And he's like, we're going to be good. Like, I'm telling you, I'm like, you don't have sunglasses on. You have purple eyeballs. And then,
I can't make the case that they're going to be good. I can make the case that I understand what they're doing, right? That I understand.
My position is I'm totally okay with what's occurring. This happens in football because there's a salary cap, and I'm okay with the fact that it's going to be a learning, rebuilding year next year. Like that, I'm fine with that.
I'm not okay with the Browns winning 10 games.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to be chasing them, but, if they want to win while we're down, somebody has to, so that doesn't bother me either. They're going to get themselves in trouble.
Were we pissed off when Tampa won? Hell no.
I just think they're going to get themselves in trouble, right? Like, it's nice when you have $50 million in cap.
Oh, my God, they took on Odell Beckham. They took on a guy that nobody else really... They'd love to have him on Sunday. They don't want him Monday through Saturday, right? And you own a business. You understand why Bill Belichick wasn't chomping at the bit. Why Mike Tomlin? If you're Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and you can't get along with Mike Tomlin, what are your chances of getting along with John Harbaugh and Bill Belichick? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's fascinating, dude. Maybe we'll talk about this because my company has now been here, and I get to say this, right? I've been doing this 27 years. I've been doing what I do for 35 years. I've paid every bill in front of me, if not been as profitable as I'd like to be, for 22 years now, right? So we've run businesses. We've seen the Odell Beckhams, the Antonio Browns, and the Le'Veon Bells of the world come and go. And we've also seen, let me give you three franchises, Bill. Cleveland Browns, Oakland Raiders, New York Jets. Let me say that again. Without the football players, Cleveland Browns, Oakland Raiders, New York Jets, what do they all have in common?
They never win? They
never win, correct. Well, they win trades in March, apparently.
Yes. Right. I mean, the list is even longer. The Buffalo Bills, the Washington Redskins. I mean, look at all the teams that are participating right now, and that theme runs true across the board. So, that doesn't bother me. I think it's interesting that, us and Pittsburgh are attempting to, challenge each other for fourth place in our division.
The Bengals aren't going to let us have it, though.
Right. And I think another comment that was made is, don't worry, the adults are in charge, right? DaCosta's been around a long time. He knows what he wants to do. He is not afraid to take bold moves and do bold things. And, you kind of got to go with it for a little bit here. Other than the fact that you're doing all of these players at one time, that's the part that scares you, right? That's the part that leaves the void. When you take Weddle off the field, okay, who else is going to tell everybody where to go?
Well, look, they're going to have 9 or 10 draft picks they're going to have next month, right? Next year they're going to have a dozen based on the exodus of this week. They're going to have a bunch of mid-rounders they're going to get back, certainly for let's start with C.J. Mosley getting off. We haven't even talked about the players, right? Like, you and I haven't even talked about how you recover from Suggs and Weddle and Smokey Brown taking $27 million. By the way, Buffalo, there's another one. They were the first one off your list. Buffalo giving $27 million to a wide receiver we couldn't figure out how to get the ball to.
Yeah, and he had flashes. I think he's an okay guy, but they don't let him get out of Arizona, and we don't get him and all that, if he was just a great stand-up player. Like, that doesn't happen. So, I mean, the part that I don't know, because I, can't spend a ton of time researching all this, is who are the other guys that are going to come rolling in here after the draft in June, that are people are going to cut, or, who we've always been able to add 1 or 2 guys like that along the way.
Well, that's how Eric Weddle got here. That's how Matt Burke got here. That's
so I wonder who's in that bucket and whether we're going to have a roster full of those guys.
Well, when you want to pluck a free agent, okay, let's go through this. And Eric and Ozzy are not dissimilar, right? So let's just say the same mind's eye. What's that eye that they have on the internet, the Illumini? Whatever the Illumini of the Ravens are, what that Bisciotti, Ozzy, Billick, Harbaugh, Sav, the thing that's been guiding the ship, Kukinis, the mind trust. It's been the same guys. Billick and Savage are the only guys out, and nothing's really changed with them out, and Harbaugh, and name whoever you want in. It's always been the same circle of dudes, the same circle of scouts, the same Ted Marchibroda. We want tough guys who love football, who are good integrity guys, who are, good people. I mean, the loss of Joe Flacco and the loss of Eric Weddle is we've lost good people. Terrell Suggs, I'd make the other argument that they made him a better person than he ever made them. But let me say this. Harbaugh talked so much last week. Did you hear the Fellowship of Christian Athletes piece that we
No, aired? I still haven't heard it.
It's in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. You should go hear it. If you haven't heard it, give yourself an hour. If you're a podcast person, I promise you an hour of John Harbaugh doing stand-up is better than you think it is. And way better than you think. It's the best thing I've ever heard John Harbaugh do. And in it a couple of times, he said something that is sort of has become a little bit of a Tony Robbins thing for me. And it's flippant, right? Because I have the good thing over my shoulder here in the studio, good and all that, and the lion and chase the lion and all that stuff. But he said a few times, I just got to the point where I said, I don't care what happened. I care, but I don't care in that I'm not going to be attached to it. So being attached to an outcome, very Buddhist thing, right? Like being attached to the shame of it or the pride of it, but letting go of it and just saying, let's no risk, no reward. The outcome's going to be the outcome. I'm going to be good to live with the outcome, whatever the outcome is. The I don't care part of this. And the Costa Harbaugh thing here, they both have literally, I brought a whiteboard in here for my Baltimore Positive movement, Bill. And I'm not going to have it in the screenshot, but it's literally to the right of where I am. I took all my rock and roll memorabilia down, my Hooting the Blowfish and In Excess stuff's down, my Geddy Lee stuff's down, and I have a whiteboard up here. And I feel like when they went to Jupiter last month, I feel like they said this. You know what? If we can get Weddle back at this price and Suggs back at this price and Mosley back at this price, let's get them all back. The chances of getting them all back is very slim, but that's plan A. Plan A is we're willing to spend this much to keep these guys in order to compete this year. But if it starts to be Smokey Brown's going to be $27 million and Mosley's going to be $85 million and $18 a year, we're just going to literally pass on the hand. regroup, take our draft picks, lick our wounds, have an empty stadium, maybe because we have a brilliant coach and an athletic quarterback and some good coaches around here, and if we draft right, maybe we can win 9 or 10 games this year. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. But let's play on the side of we're not going to give any more stupid money out for a year or two. Let's figure out the young kids we have, figure out how to pay Tavon Young, Nick Boyle, Matt Judon, whomever. We're going to have to figure out how to pay Humphrey if he's this good. If Stanley remains standing, we're going to have to figure him out. If Zeus becomes the player we think he can become, he's going to be a $9 million right tackle. So all of that being said, it all makes sense. It made sense to Luke. It makes sense to me. Probably makes sense to you because Cole Roofing has owned a company for 100 years, right? And that's kind of how you do this. But it doesn't make sense if you're this guy with the $1,400 bill, or maybe to the kid picking up at the lacrosse program this week or Little League, whatever it is. But you tell me. Give me some of the feedback you were hearing, because I see it on Twitter and on Facebook. I understand it. I don't know that I want to pay for it. I don't know that I can talk about it in any glowing terms, but I really understand it, and I think part of this, these tough decisions that are being made and them getting crushed for it this week, is just that DeCosta and Harbaugh have a whiteboard right now, and they just made the playoffs, by the way. They played a playoff game here 8 weeks ago. I don't know if you know that or not, right?
I mean, the idea that Pittsburgh is taking a step back, too, I mean, doesn't that give you a little bit of wiggle room? It's like, okay, we don't, there's disruption across the board. We've played at this level, we've competed at this level, but everyone's got to go through this. We have seen what Cleveland's been able to do. We thought there was a time period where they were going to be on an upswing. So maybe now is when we lick our wounds a little bit and recover. The other interesting part about what you said, is it valuable enough, to the $1,400 guy? And it's like, there was a lot of pride around being at Memorial Stadium in '96.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing Ogden and Ray, and then riding that for 15 years or whatever length of time it was, knowing that you were there in the beginning and being there at the end. There's a lot of stuff. Like, that's how, Ray Lewis is the guy that he is in this town. And gosh forbid we find somebody like that in the draft this year, and that those guys get to come on the field next year. And, you take your lumps, but we play and people get a chance. I mean, that was part of the problem with the exodus of your superstars over the last couple of years anyway. Suggs was the only guy.
Well, Suggs should have been gone 2 or 3 years ago, right? Like, they were planning for him to be gone in 15 or 16, literally, right? Like, he's a freak. I mean, he's come back from Achilles. I mean, he's a freak, right. Literally, right? Like, so that's an outlier anyway. Weddle, when they got him, most teams thought he had 3 years of tire left on the, of tread on the tire, right? So all that being said, I would agree with that everything you said, including the fact that Ray Lewis and beating him at Star Academy the other night in the little game with the robotics kids. By the way, Bill Cole here, he's Cole Roofing and Gordian. And by the way, you taught me the Gordian knot, and I want you to teach everybody the Gordian knot today in 30 seconds or less.
Well, the Gordian knot is a story from Alexander the Great as he went across the world conquering. He came upon the kingdom of Gordium, and the prior king had left a knot and said whoever could untie the knot would be the next king. After trying to untie it for a while, he gave up, pulled his sword out, chopped the knot in half, and proclaimed that he was king of the land. And we use that as a story that helps explain our solar company in terms of finding creative ways to solve challenging problems, and solar being in its infancy and everyone trying to understand it and adopt it.
You know what, dude? I never asked you about this, right? I mean, while we're at it, you and I are at it right now, and we'll talk Ravens, but while we're in the middle of it, why is solar important? I mean, I have my own opinions as my father's father went down into the mines in Pennsylvania. My father came from that background in Scranton, Pennsylvania. My father my father would be appalled at what this country's become and the lack of integrity in the human being leading it. My father stood in soup lines with Herbert Hoover, all of that stuff, right? But I would just say this for, all these years later and what's going on with coal and with energy and fracking and earthquakes in Oklahoma, right? And that tremor I felt a couple of years ago here that I'm wondering, might it be the land they're cracking in the state next door? Everything that goes on, this is the most obvious thing you see when you leave this country, when you go other places, when you talk to scientists, when you talk to smart people, when you go up in airplanes, when you have flown over the top of the world and the bottom of the world, as I have over the last 4 years, and see the ice melting and see the sun shining and see the fields and see the energy it creates. Give me a good 3 to 5 minutes right now why a guy in Dundalk or a guy in downtown or a guy somewhere should be saying we should be listening to these solar people because they're smart.
Well, I don't want to disappoint you.
Please don't then.
But I take a very pragmatic approach to this. I am not an environmental scientist, and I don't get a chance to spend much time trying to understand any of that. Here are the two things that I know to be true to me and in my world. One, there's a giant ball of fire in the sky that comes up every day, no matter what.
That usually, like around this time of year, I go south to look for it, where there's sand and blue water, and right. I mean, exactly. Yes.
And when
we all love the sun.
Sky,
we take it for granted, except when it's coming up and going down, and we look at it and take pictures, and it's lovely. But it's there every day. It really is. Right. Whether we can see it or not.
And when it's in the sky, it has the ability to. And like I said, I'm not a scientist. This is simple stuff. It dries up puddles on the ground, and if you use a magnifying glass, it can catch ants on fire, and it burns your skin if you're pale.
I remember seeing that on Gilligan's Island. That's how they kept things going there with the professor.
Right. So we can tell without being master scientists that there is some amount of energy there. The second thing that I know to be true, and I know this one intimately for the better part of 25 years of my life, there are a ton of open roof space that is literally doing nothing other than keeping water out. And I can't fathom why we wouldn't try and find more ways to use that space when, especially being where we are on the East Coast, space is so limited, there's no ground space, and it's a challenge to do anything. Here's an area where we can, using, affordable, reliable technology, use the fireball in the sky to create electricity right above us that we're going to consume.
Well, every time you drive over the Conowingo, right, that's ingenuity from last century, literally, maybe a century and a half ago, using water to create, maybe it's a couple centuries old, to create energy, correct?
Sure.
But we figured out how to get water. That
foundation was in mills, right? That foundation was in running streams and rivers, turning water mills, so we were able to figure out, probably didn't call it energy at the time, right? Didn't know anything about kinetic and potential energy and all that kind of stuff. But we knew if we stuck a wheel there, it would turn the mill and we could grind the wheat or whatever they wanted to do with it. So, yeah, I mean, I think we have a history of figuring out how to use things. We created a regulated monopoly around our electricity because it was so important that we made sure everybody could have it, thanks to, the robber barons and the whatever you call them from the turn of the century, the Rockefellers and all, we had
the
to
real
make
rich
sure,
guys.
Right, we had to make
the
sure
original
that they were
OG
share
gangsters.
That with everybody. And I don't think there was, bad intentions, but it created a control around electricity that made it not necessary for you and I to,
well, it's right up there with healthcare. We all need
it.
We have to have it. We can't live on candles around here. My phone doesn't work without things don't work without electricity. So yeah, it's right up there with water, oxygen, right? Like things that roads, things that like the libertarian part of you and me would say, we need a government, we need a society, we need rules, we need law and order, we need it to function, we need to create value, we need to create, all of those things. But to your point, electricity's right up there with, like, my wife's insulin, quite frankly, right?
Well, okay, but if you look at it compared to healthcare, look at the innovation that's occurring in healthcare, because it isn't affordable for everyone. There is a different level of care that's going to people who have the means and people who don't. So we've screwed up healthcare in a way that is now causing innovation and change. Electricity, they've maintained and controlled this so that it's deliverable. Not that there's not a difference between those with means and those without, but there's an electrical socket, it's connected to the grid, and there's always electricity there. And
in a lot of countries, that's not the case. When I go to Venezuela, that's not the case. When reporters were in Sochi, covering the Olympics a couple of years ago, that was not the case, right? So the fact that we get straight current is, I've been to Jamaica. It doesn't work that way there. It doesn't work that way in a lot of places.
Right. The fact that we get straight current means that there is not an overwhelming incentive by people to figure that problem out.
Right. Of course. We take it for granted.
Right. We do. And
in Africa, they have to figure water out because, cholera. Yeah, exactly.
And
we don't have to figure out where to go to the bathroom. We're lucky like
Great
that.
things come from that challenge.
Okay, understood. He is Bill Cole. He's trying to figure out that challenge and the Gordian knot and Gordian energy and solar, along while doing what they've done for, 100 years. Cole Roofing. They do roofs, and they do it better than anybody. You can find him at Cole Roofing. He is Bill Cole. He's my friend. He's my therapist. It's all brought to you by our friends also at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast. The ROFO Rewards card. Make sure you're using that when you're pumping your gas, either in the app form or the actual card itself. They both work, and you'll get your Western fries for free. I haven't had Western fries in a while. I need to change that. All right, Bill, back to the Ravens and back to leadership and back to Harbaugh and DeCosta and what a rough week it is for the Ravens. I think the bigger picture, and my Baltimore positive things around the corner, and you know more about it intimately than most people do. Part of this is beating up the Orioles a little bit, and I'll do that with Marty Conway later, and I did that earlier in the week at length with Tim Wendell, and I hope everybody goes to the buyatoyota.com audio vault and listens to all that, because these are the smartest people I know. We're 3 years out on the baseball team being 30 years. Remember, it was a 30-year lease and like all that. 2022, we're almost in 2020. There's certainly no 2019 season. And the Ravens season tickets and where they are, and the Orioles and John and Lou, who love their Nashville music, wink, wink. The leverage will be coming as soon around the corner. And I don't mean the kind of leverage that Michael McCrary used in the 98 football game in San Diego for you football fans out there. But this is about to become a little bit of a dark place because the Orioles are terrible. And we know they're terrible, and there's no hint that they're not going to be terrible. They've all but said we're going to be terrible. The only thing they can do on their wall is put up a dead man's number that they didn't like and get along with from 1966.
I have a question about that.
Okay, so and you should bring that on. But now the notion this week
the 20,
that go ahead,
the 20 on the wall.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
wasn't Cal? What was Cal's 2031? Right,
2130. Yes,
2130. I think that's the same 2 and 0. And the real driver was, hey, we don't have to spend anything. We still have those numbers in the basement. We'll pull those numbers out and we'll put them up on the wall. Then we don't have to buy a new banner for the season.
He doesn't just do therapy, he does comedy. Good job there. Good job, Bill. All right, Bill Cole Roofing.
I honestly believe that. I can visually picture the 2031 or whatever.
Should I order the veal?
The exact same.
So I think the weird part about this week, and I'll let you, get on to this, but the loss of hope, right? Like, we had Joe Flacco and we had Ray Lewis. This is the first time we're ever going to play football without someone named Ray Lewis or Terrell Suggs, or Ray Lewis or Joe Flacco, because they overlapped, right? And Suggs is going to the Hall of Fame. Reed's going to the Hall of Fame. I saw him out in the bust room with Dave Baker the other day out in Canton, getting sized up for his jacket and all that good stuff, and getting molded for his face and all that cool stuff. The Orioles can't win.
There's still hope. I think there's still hope
for the Ravens. Okay, all right, good.
I mean, again, football is one of them grinding sports, right? So anything can happen on any Sunday, and there's enough guys there I mean, Lamar is you're at least curious to find out what's going to happen, right? Half the people say he's going to be terrible. Half the people are, I guess, I don't think anybody.
I'm not saying he's going to be terrible.
Great,
I think he might be brilliant right up until he gets hit. Right. I think you might get. He may start the year Mahomes. They might be 11-1 this year because nobody can figure out how to get him. But then he's going to meet Haloti Ngata in a dark alley someplace in the third quarter. Trying to get an extra yard because it's his instinct. I don't think he's ever going to become a great passer. Okay, I don't believe that because I've never seen that happen. I think he can be an incredibly dangerous, wonderful, exciting thing to watch until he gets hit the wrong way. And he wants to get hit. And I think that is so uniquely different than what the Browns want out of Baker Mayfield and what the Jets want out of Sam Darnold or any regular offense that you want to run. I am worried about the concept, not about – I like Lamar, and I think this is going to be fun and exciting for a while. I don't think we have a 10-year plan with Lamar Jackson, and I could be wrong. Because I don't think he'll pass the ball well enough. If he has to sit back in the pocket, I don't think he'll be good enough to do that.
Right, I agree, and I think that's one of the other reasons why they're willing to do what they're doing is like – we're not really convinced that we have the guy. He might be the guy, but if we're going to reload, now would be the time. He needs to learn how to do this. We need him, we need to be really good 2-3 years from now, right before his contract expires. That's the year we're targeting to go to the Super Bowl because, you keep your quarterback cheap and you can put all the pieces around him, and then that's when you go make the run. But I think they have enough built-up credibility that people might be sad, they might need to go buy another jersey with a different guy's number on it, and that'll be okay. But they have credibility that they will put something worth watching on the field. Even when it's not resulting in victories, it's still interesting. And I think that's what people are going back on. You get 2 or 3. I mean, even when John wasn't, when we weren't very good, and it was still close, a couple tips here or there, and you're back in the playoffs.
Well, that's the league, and you're okay as long as your quarterback's not fumbling twice a game and throwing 2 picks, and you're getting punts blocked, and your defense no longer has Eric Weddle wearing the helmet, or C.J. Mosley wearing the dot, or Terrell Suggs, creating setting an edge or getting after the quarterback.
Darius Smith too? Didn't we lose Darius?
Oh my God, yeah, Smokey Brown. I mean, it's going on and on and on here, and Nick Boyle's nice and Tavon Young's nice, and they're keeping pieces, but it's not. This is going to be about the draft, and this is going to be about all of the names of all of the young players. The Kenny Youngs and, these guys becoming better football players when given that opportunity to be 60, 70 snap-a-week guys.
I'm curious if you agree that our defense last year was statistically helped by the fact that we held the ball the whole time. So they're number one defense. But because we ran the ball so much and we never let the other team have the ball, they might have been like the 10th best defense. If you take these players off the 10th best defense, are you now like the 28th best defense?
Dude, if they had to go play next week, this is not a very good football team. Yeah, right. But Ozzie would always say, we don't have to play next week. But in a lot of years, because we were so good, if we did, we would just bring Haloti Ngata and Todd Heap and, Derek Mason to the party, right? Or Matt Burke or Anquan Boley. We don't have any of that going on right now. All of those names are gone. We're bringing Brandon Williams and Lamar Jackson, right? and we're bringing Marlon Humphrey, and we're bringing, that's what the team is right now. Marshall Yanda, Sam Cook. We got the best kicker. Did I mention? I haven't mentioned that. How the hell did we get 29 minutes into this segment? I haven't mentioned the kicker.
Yeah,
right. He is the best athlete in Baltimore right now, right? Justin Tucker is the premier athlete in Baltimore sports right now. Well, Lamar is because he's Lamar. He's the quarterback. But
I also heard something about Jimmy Smith moving to safety, and I don't understand that, but whatever.
Yeah, you got to want to do that.
2 years ago, he was the best corner on our team. I can appreciate that maybe he isn't now, but
He's still an expensive football player.
We did the Ladarius Webb thing, and I'm lukewarm on that whole concept.
No, the Woodson thing worked out okay for him. So
I agree.
It has worked out.
He's a Hall of Famer, though.
Well, that's right. Jimmy Smith's Hall of pretty good. Same like McAllister, pretty good. Had some years, and certainly for Jimmy Smith, the injuries were also
right.
A major part of that. Bill Cole's here. I'm wearing the hat because I stole it off the table, dude. Can I make fun of you for the cup? Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, of course. Well, no, it's not really worth making fun of.
No, hold on.
Tea. Some people drink tea, and that's a teacup, not a coffee cup.
I'm going to hold up the Royal Farms. This is a 20 ounce. This is 20 ounce. I thought it was 16 the whole time. I get four bonus ounces, and this is here a Dixie cup. If I hold it closer to the camera, it looks bigger. Sort of like my head. But anyway, so I stole this and the hat off of your table at Accelerant last week. And I like the hat, by the way, because it makes me feel like, I want to go, hang out on roofs and stuff, and be that guy that my dad was, or my wife is with the tool belt. I feel like Schneider. But then I stole the coffee cup, and I'm like, I'm going to get a new cup. And then I realized it fit in my jacket pocket. I'm like, the cup I drink out of every morning, and I touched it, and I'm like, my hands are not big, and they're fitting all the way around the cup. And I'm like, damn, Cole snuck me a Dixie cup in here. Wow, am I going to drink coffee out of this?
I just want to understand. What does it say when you're complaining about the free stuff you get? You get such good free stuff that now you're creating a line of complaints.
No, I just want something functional. I drink coffee out of it, dude. I'm not complaining that it's free. I'll give you $10. Give me a good mug. Give me a mug with 16 proper ounces in it, man.
It's been noted. I will send it to the ginormous marketing staff we have, and I'll have them working on a better mug for you.
Make sure it says "Made in the USA" underneath of it too.
Right.
Even if it's not, you know what I mean.
I get
just
it.
Fake it.
Yep.
Fake it till you make it. All right, there he is, Cole Roofing, and of course Gordian Energy and the Knot and all that good stuff. Bill Cole doing therapy here this week for all of us in grave need of therapy with Ravens losses and this exciting season of Oriole baseball. Hey, did I tell you that UMBC and Coppin won this week? I should be wearing their hats. I've been wearing their hats. I'll put them all on here as I end the segment. UMBC, go Dogs, Saturday. Vermont, 11 a.m. Also, Coppin beating Morgan twice, boys and girls. I had Kaya Coleman on. She hit the game-winning shot. So, good vibes for everybody. I mean, not if you're Morgan. Sorry, Morgan. They don't sponsor us anyway. UMBC and Coppin are our partners here. So I like when they win even more. Pete, I need a new hat. Let Pete Caringi know I need a new hat. The BuyAToyota.com Audio Vault is there 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships digitally to your email inbox. That happens every morning at 7:01 a.m. It's like clockwork because we set it on a timer. No spam. All good all the time. It's the WNST morning newspaper, all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's always $5 down to $10 a month, except when it's $1 down to $10 a month to go black. So go check it out at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Get some inspiration at Planet of Triumphs. Laurel, the race course, yes, they're racing this weekend. Yes, it's almost Triple Crown Series. Yes, we're going to be talking about the Preakness in Baltimore and Laurel and all that good stuff because it's spring, and we're not going to talk about the Orioles. Laurel's racing this week. Go down and check them out. They also sponsor our morning newspaper, the entries on the front of WNST.net as well. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I'm having watch parties lately. It's fun. Watch parties on Facebook. It's cool. Come hang out. We'll have a watch party. It'll be neat. Neato. The WNST Tech Service has been alive. I was literally sitting in a meeting showing off the WNST Tech Service, all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I was sitting at a restaurant in Owings Mills that will not be a WNST sponsor, not Roost Chris, that is a WNST sponsor, and my WNST Tech Service went off literally at like 5:47 on Monday night. And I want to pull it up and read from it because it was like one of those times where it was like crazy. Because I'm like showing it off. Literally, like, we have this really cool tech service, and when something happens, it like goes off. And at that moment, it went off. I want to find which one it was. Here it is. 7-time Pro Bowl linebacker Terrell Suggs informs Ravens he'll be joining another team. Kuntz Florida Security Boulevard, right there on the. And we've also sent out Terrell Suggs expected to sign with the Cardinals 13 minutes later. C.J. Mosley inks $85 million deal with the Jets, 7:31 on Tuesday morning. Zadarius Smith, 8:59 a.m. Tuesday morning, signs with Green Bay. There's no good news on the WNST text service, but you want to be on it anyway in case there's good news. I turn my flashlight on as well. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking. Good news. Baltimore positive. Give me something to cheer about, Eric. We'll reconvene shortly.